Be inspired. Sean was diagnosed with autism at 18 months. When it was discovered that he was also gluten and casein intolerant, he was placed on a biomedical diet. After trying a number of the mixes available, Grandma Debbie and her sister Kathy knew they could do better. Something just as healthy, but with improved taste and texture. Inspiration mixes are exactly that, and we'd like to share our delicious creations with you. We're sure you'll love them just as much as Sean does. Bon appetit.
Hi, I'm Debbie with Inspiration Mixes, a gluten-free baking mix company. Today I'd like to show you how to make a wonderful white bread with our mom's homemade baking mix. This baking mix not only makes bread, it makes banana bread, it makes cinnamon rolls, it makes blueberry muffins, and it also makes cornbread. So check out our website at www.inspirationmixes.com for our other recipes. To start with, I've opened up the bag, so you'll use the entire bag to make a loaf of white bread. Now to make it simple, I simply use 2 tablespoons of any type of yeast. You can proof the yeast if you like, or simply put it in here if you know it's nice and fresh. Take a wire whisk and whisk it inside there, making sure it gets all together, maybe just for 20 seconds. So we're going to take 4 egg whites. Put it in your bowl. I have 1 tablespoon of vanilla, 2 tablespoons of applesauce, which creates a little bit softer bread, and 1 tablespoon of apple cider vinegar. Put it in your mixer. Mix that for just a second to kind of incorporate it all together. Then we're going to take the yeast and flour mixture and put it in the bottom. Mix it for just a little bit, just so it moistens the bread. And you'll see that, kind of like the pie crust, where it makes little pea sizes. In this bowl is 1 1/4 warm water that I use to melt the butter. It's 4 tablespoons of butter. You can use oil, you can use margarine. This also has a vegan option, to check our website for that. Now pour it all in. And you're going to mix it. It's going to be a little bit lumpy, but as you mix it, you're just going to turn it off a couple of times, scrape the bottom, making sure it all gets in there. Turn it on medium for 2 minutes. Medium high, and let it go. So now take a look at this. See how it's a nice thick cake-like batter? But it's mixed very nicely. See how that looks? And that took us literally 2 minutes. So what we're going to do now, I have preheated the oven to 200, and as soon as it hit 200, I turned it off. That is going to be our warmth and proofing station to rise the bread. I used an olive oil, but you can use any kind of oil to grease your pan. So now let's put it in here, and I'm going to show you a nifty trick, because a lot of gluten-free bread is a little lumpy on the top. So if you want it to look like that wonderful loaf of bread that you buy in the grocery store, I'll show you a little magic on that. Now this is a 9-inch bread pan, loaf pan. You can even use a 10-inch, as you can see, because this fills this very nicely. Now what I do is I take a small spatula and I make sure to go around and shape my bread. This is what gives you that wonderful look and peak that you find on gluten bread that you can't always get with gluten-free. So I just take it and shape it around, and it will rise like this. And look at that. We preheated our oven to 200 degrees before we started making our bread dough. Once it reaches 200, remember to turn it off. After we made our bread dough, we shaped it in the pan. We put it in the warm oven to rise for 20 minutes. And as you can see, it looks just absolutely beautiful. Now we're going to cook it in our oven for 350 degrees for 35 minutes. Remember, sometimes oven temperatures are different, so be sure to test it with a toothpick to make sure it comes out done. Now another thing that you can do is you can use a bread machine, but check your bread machine instructions to see if it has a gluten-free cycle. Gluten-free bread can only rise one time. So gluten-free bread normally is kind of lumpy on top because it doesn't rise correctly. It's that heavy cake batter, but as it rises, it keeps that lump that you put in there. That's why I took that little spatula and shaped it on the inside so that when it rises, it maintains that shape and it looks like a real loaf of bread. We cook the bread for 35 minutes, let it cool for 10 before we removed it from the pan. Now you can see this is a 9-inch loaf of Mom's homemade bread mix from the Mom's homemade baking mix. Okay, once you let the bread cool, usually about 45 minutes, you can cut a slice off. That smells so wonderful. Look at that. Gluten-free bread. From our kitchen to your home, bon appetit.